So that we had said that we use a couple different kind of price indexes in order to measure inflation and deflation. However, one that we really want to focus in on is probably the one that's used the most often within the United States. And that's this first one, the Consumer Price Index. Now, one thing you might have already been able to tell from the name is that it really deals with things that consumers are concerned with. The Consumer Price Index is an index that we use in order to understand how prices change over time for goods and services that are typically purchased by consumers. So here's what happens. The BLS, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, which is a branch of the government that focuses in on some of these important economic indicators, they have a list, and they call this list the market basket. Think about you go shopping, right? You have a basket of things that you fill up your basket with, and so they have this shopping list that they go shopping for every single month. So every single month they go shopping for these exact same items. And what they want to do is whenever they go shopping buy these same items, they get to the register, they check out and they have this receipt. And they want to see how does that receipt's total dollar amount change month to month to month. Now, they also look at each individual item and how different individual items change over time, but they also want to understand the total amount and how that changes over time. So here are kind of the steps that we go through in order to understand this price index. First and foremost, we want to calculate the current basket's value. So we want to determine what is that final price that shows up on the receipt when we go shopping for that entire shopping list. And that's in whatever we're dealing with right now. And I will always provide you guys with this information. What we do then also, though, is we have to calculate that same shopping list's prices from a base year. So we use a base year in order to calculate what were those prices way back in another year, so that we have something to compare it against. And what the Bureau of Labor and Statistics does is they actually use the year 1982. Circle that year, highlight it, whatever, because we're going to use the year 1982 as well, since that's what the BLS uses. That's the year they use to compare prices against, so that we can, fix our prices first with a single year, and then from there, what we're able to do is compare year to year to year. And we always kind of look back to 1982 and be like, oh, how do these prices compare back to how they were in 1982? So then from there, the third thing we do is we solve for the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, using those market basket values. Now, how exactly do we do that? Well, we have a little formula that we have. And our formula is that the CPI is equal to the current market basket value divided by the base year market basket value times 100. So what that means is we want to take what was the total price of all those things that we went shopping for. What was the total price this year, right now, divided by whatever it was back in 1982 times 100. And we do it multiplied by 100 because that helps us get a nice, bigger number rather than typically a decimal, right? So let's take a look at how this might play out. What I've done is I've given you some hypothetical market basket values for a couple different years, 1982, 2001, 2005, and 2007. Well, if we want to find out what the CPI is in a given year, we're going to use that formula down below. So let's first solve what it is in 1982. So in order to find what it is in 1982, we take the current market basket value. And since we're in the year 1982 right now, 1982, we're taking that $21,895. We divide it by the base year, which is also 1982. So we have $21,895 divided by $21,895 times 100. We just get 100. So here's what I want you to see is that the CPI is always going to be 100 in the base year. And like I said before too, the CPI is just an index. It's not a percent, not a dollar. It's just a number. The CPI for 1982 is 100, and that's it. Okay? Well, let's look at 2001. In 2001, that same shopping list of goods cost us $43,567. So we take that current value in 2001, we divided what it was in our base year back in 1982. So 43,567 divided by 21,895. And then we multiply that by 100 and we get 198.98. So our CPI in 2001, 198.98. Well, how about for 2005? In 2005, what we do is we take 46,397, we divide it by 21,895, and we get 211.91. And then finally for 2007, we take that current value of that market basket. So we take 47,873. We divide by our base year of 1982. So we divide it by 21,895, multiply by 100, and we get 218.65. Well, now that we have all these index numbers, what the heck do we do with them? How do we then use these in order to find inflation? Well, what we've done now is we've kind of got this common measure, this common index to measure the prices year to year to year. But then what we can do is use those in order to calculate the inflation rate. So once we've found those indexes, we can then find the percentage change between any year. We can kind of forget about that base year thing now. We've already used our base year, so we can forget about it. Now we can compare any year we want. We could compare 2005 to 2007 and how much prices change there, or 2001 to 2007, or 2001 to 2005, or whatever it might be. And the way we do that is we use the percent change formula. So what we do is we take our CPI in year 2, we subtract our CPI in year 1, and then divide it by our CPI in year 1 times 100. Now, what do we mean by this whole year 2, year 1 thing? Well, year 1 is just the earlier of the 2 years we're comparing, and year 2 is the later of the 2 years we're comparing, right? So if we're comparing the CPIs in 2001 and 2005, well, 2001 is the earlier of the 2 years. 2005 is the later of the 2 years. But again, like I said, because we've already found the index numbers, we don't have to worry about that base year anymore. We can, we've already used that base year. Now we can just compare any year to one another. But again, like I said, we're just using the percent change formula here. Really, all that formula says is we're just trying to understand when we're comparing between 2 years, what was the change in our CPI divided by where was our starting point. And then we multiply it by 100. And that does give us a percentage. And that percentage is our percent inflation.